friends, I'm Natasha, or you can call me Tash, and I'm a native Houstonian who loves film. I'm an actor and journalist who wants to talk to other film enthusiasts in Houston. You're listening to Tosh Talks Film. Now I'm getting ready to introduce you guys to my guest, Camille Ashraf. Did I pronounce her last name right?
Ashraf.
Ashraf.
Yeah.
Camille Ashraf.
Yeah.
She is one of the co-founders of Actors Across Borders.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm one of the co-founders. I'm also a director, writer, producer, now set designer. Pretty much do everything as every indie filmmaker does. So yeah.
Excited to have you on. Thank you so much for making some time in your schedule.
Yes, of course.
So first, Camille, I really just want to talk about like your background. Yeah, really kind of what attracted you to film. I know everyone has like a certain, like a just a certain story. Everyone has a story, honestly. So even I don't know if there was like, have you always been interested in film and theater since a child, or did it like happen in college, or just kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, and well, I'm named after a movie. So I guess it's kind of it's just I'm born with it. I don't know. Yeah, my parents named me after my mother's favorite film called Camille. It's with Greta Garbo. I believe it's a 1930s film. So I grew up with parents who love films and constantly watching BTS of their favorite films and how they're made. So it feels like, yeah, I kind of always grew up hearing about it, but I didn't actually think that I could work in this industry. It really didn't feel possible, but I loved it. I consumed it. I consumed so many movies and TV shows like every other kid. And I think I had a lot of friends who were big readers, and for me, I was definitely big into like visual content, and I I could sit there and for hours just I don't know how many times I've binged Lord of the Rings, but I think just like immersing yourself and in an imaginary world like as a kid, you just I feel like that's kind of where it begins, to be honest.
That's so true, like with childhood. So that's why I'm always curious to kind of hear like how people got into this industry, even, if they're not working in it professionally or just a fan of the arts. I always want to hear, their personal story, what kind of drew them to movies and film and things like that. So that's really cool. I am going to look up after this podcast. I'm going to look up the film Camille because that's a very pretty name. And now I'm curious, was it like a black and white film?
It was a black and white film. It's a very interesting film. It's a very interesting story. I'll have you like look it up. But yeah, Greta Garbo was just a famous actor at the time. I can't remember the other actor. He played like Heathcliff in the other film, but I can't remember his name. But it's a great movie. It's very interesting that my parents would name me after this movie just because of the content around it. But I'll let you look that up. But yeah, I grew up loving films and I think storytelling, honestly, as much as I loved visual content, I think I was just really big into telling stories and growing up in a family where stories were constantly told. And that was our way of communicating with each other. That was our way of bonding, is just telling funny stories or interesting stories. And I think that's part of like growing up in a really big extended family too. So not just watching movies, but just hearing stories constantly.
In what ways?
In what ways, like were the stories told or what kind of stories?
Like, yes, were there, I don't know, was it like on the news or TV or like, I guess, what are the different types of, if you can remember, was it just like your parents actually just verbally kind of like,
Yeah. I mean uncles would come over and the best part of the night wouldn't actually be us watching anything. It would be us just sitting around and we're probably having chai, not me, I'm a kid, but tea, whatever it is. And my uncles would go around telling stories of their childhood. I have immigrant parents, so they had very fun childhoods. They grew up with a lot of different stories, things that I really couldn't relate to, but it was just so exciting to hear. And the way that they would tell it, it was like a thriller. And I will say my family, they're all very good storytellers. My uncles, my dad. That's what they would live for at the end of every family gathering. We would always end it with these stories, and they're just hilarious stories of either how they ended up in a city they weren't supposed to end up in, you know, getting into weird altercations or losing something. Like it doesn't matter how small the story may seem, like just the way that it was told,
Uh-huh.
and just with such like passion. It's like those are still like some of the most memorable moments, and we still continue like telling stories like that, to be honest. Like my uncles still come over, and I've heard the story for the 50th time, but it's still like so exciting to hear it. And I think that that just tells you how important like stories are, and those are honestly like some of the biggest memories that we hold, I think.
I agree with you. Storytelling is everything. That's how we kind of communicate with each other. And I feel like it's universal because everyone, I don't want to speak for people, but I feel like I can identify with other stories like that may not reflect my background or how I grew up, but I don't know, I can identify with one piece or, in a story, and I feel like a lot of us as humans do that. Like when we consume TV, like we may not identify with someone on TV, but we can identify with that story because it's like a human story that all of us experience. So that's really cool. And tell me a little bit more about your background. You said you're a director, writer. Did you also say actor? Did you
Yeah,
say okay?
I do. I'm a sometimes actor.
Okay. So tell me, and you're doing that full time?
Not full time. So I actually just, it's probably been exactly a year since I delved into the arts, like
Okay.
fully, meaning not full time, but where I'm actually like committed to it in some respect. And so my background, I worked in tech. I was a project manager for a gaming company, and I dabbled a lot in, I never call myself a creator or an artist. But when I look back, I think I had a lot of those moments where I was doing that. I just didn't identify as that. You know, whether it was writing a blog, creating an Instagram page, and creating the content on that page around like at the time I was involved in crypto, so digital sovereignty, like what that means to own your own money, and creating content around that, and then starting a podcast related to that. So it was just these kind of like little moments that led me to here, and then finally committing to what I really wanted to do, which was film. And so, but all those meandering through all those different roles and different projects really has allowed me to delve into directing and producing in the way that works for me, because I have all these just skills that I've utilized in the past. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I
No,
did.
no, no, you did. No, because it was
Okay.
just if you do it full time or not. And I think I asked because it seems like the way actors across borders at least presents themselves on to the public, like maybe on social media and things like that. It seems like it's so well executed. I thought that's what you're doing full time.
Oh my God, that's such a compliment. I have to tell Miriam, who's also the co-founder, she will love to hear that. No, we put our like heart and soul into that. So I do like marketing content. It's my job where I get paid. And as you know, filmmaking is just, it's really hard to earn a living. So
Yeah.
it, at least in the beginning. And so I'm in the early innings, and so there's different ways to make money. It's obviously, you know, it's a privilege that I have, that I also have like a partner where I can take these risks and explore a little bit for some time. But yeah, I no, we don't do this full time. We each have like our own jobs, and then we just commit to this fully. Like it does feel full time though, even though we're not earning money from it. Like it's very much like a full time operation, to be honest, to build anything, create anything. And so it's our baby, Actors Across Borders, and it's almost hitting 1 year. So yeah, we each have our like our own jobs, our own projects that we individually work on in the creative space, and then we come together for Actors Across Borders.
So we've talked about your background. I do want to get into Actors Across Borders. So let's get into that and explain it to the people. For someone who's never heard about Actors Across Borders, like just talk about I want to hear the conception, like the idea, how Actors Across Borders was born, and then, what are you looking to achieve with this group?
Oh man, there's so much to say. So, Actors Across Borders, we are an improv acting workshop group, but we're also a production house. We produce theater productions, film productions. So we're a lot of different things, but at its core, we're really a space for creatives to come together and create things and meet one another. We created this community through Actors Across Borders, which has been really, really special. And that started with three people, Danish and Mariam, who are my fellow co-founders. We met actually in a play about a year ago. We didn't know each other. It was my first play I've ever done, first acting gig. And we it's funny because we didn't really spend too much time hanging out or anything. We were very much focused on this play and this production. And then when it ended, you kind of have this moment where you're like, I wonder if I'm ever going to talk to these people again. And we had met up once more for like a reunion, a dinner, and Mariam, who's one of the co-founders, said, I really do want to start an improv group. I feel like we go to a lot of these spaces, we don't see people that look like us, we don't see the diversity that exists in Houston, and we want to create like a community that we feel like we don't have right now. And so it just started with an idea, literally sitting on someone's living room floor. And yeah, we just ran with it, like literally ran with it, where within a month we had our first improv event. And that was really cool to see people come out and just have fun, improv, and meet new people and slowly like get an idea of like what the Houston creative community looks like. And we had directors, we had actors, we had writers come, like people of completely different background or people who have they don't touch the arts at all. Like, but they want a community here. And so it started off with just one idea of just doing an improv workshop, and it's really blossomed into many different things. So we've just kind of carried on that momentum and created things as we feel is necessary to just kind of add on to the organization and in the space.
And is Danish your husband?
No, no, he's
Oh,
not.
okay. Okay, because I saw his name like in the bottom left corner of your Zoom, and so I was like, oh, maybe.
Oh my gosh, I'm using his Zoom account. So he has our like paid Zoom account for Actors
Okay.
Across Borders. I forget to remove his name.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh, so that's kind of how it came about or something like that. But yeah, that's
No,
funny. Okay.
that's
Um,
hilarious.
because like you
Yeah,
said that you were married earlier, and so I thought,
yeah. No, just like using his Zoom account.
okay. Okay. So that leads me to my next, not really question, but I will say also, I don't see that many, as diverse of a city as Houston is, I don't see very many brown people in the art space. So that's also something unique and new and like fresh. Tell me, what is your ethnic background? What's your ethnic makeup?
I'm South Asian. My dad is from Pakistan and my mom's family is from India.
Okay.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
South Asian. Mm-hmm.
South Asian. And I will also say, a few times since I am an actor as well, I reached out. I don't know who runs the Actors Across Borders Instagram account, but I've reached out a couple of times to try and to go to some of the workshops, and I was so upset that I missed the voice acting workshop. I
I know.
remember. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, oh no, I was just gonna say, I think it was held in Sugarland at like a museum or something. And I saw when I saw it on Instagram, it was like it was starting in like an hour or something, and I wouldn't have been able to make it. But yeah, you guys talk to me about like some of the events that you have put on. I know it's been a lot of them.
Yeah, no, that was me. I remember your
Oh,
comment and you were like, "Hey, can you guys make a newsletter?" And I was like, "You are so right. We should, but who's gonna do that?"
I know that was
It's
a big
like
ask.
there's so many things between the three of us that we plan to do that. It's just Once you start something, you want to be consistent. And I don't, it's one of those things. Once you run an organization, you're like, okay, you slowly kind of add on things. But yeah, we missed you at the voice acting. I remember you reached out for that, and that was probably one of our like most popular workshops.
And how do you guys have a network of like professional actors like that you or just film and theater professionals that you maybe reach out to you know, come and join these or to like lead the workshops, or because I think sometimes you have like a professional like in whatever the topic is. Do you have like a
We
network of
definitely
people?
do. Yeah, Danish is a professional actor. He has acted on Broadway, he's done many films and TV series. And so he will lead a lot of the workshops, whereas Mariam and I lead the improv workshops. And I have more of the film background. So we plan to kind of expand on that a little bit more. But Danish has like such a bevy of skills that he's just an amazing instructor. But Mariam also has a theater background as well. So we're planning to host some workshops where she does voice acting as well. She's a radio host. So there's so many skills between the three of us, but we want to bring on more directors, writers, actors to showcase their own skills and what they want to teach the Houston community.
Who does you guys have such a very impressive social media? And I keep referring to it because well, okay, so I used to work in social media marketing, so I can spot a pretty good Instagram profile when I see one. Do you have who has like a background in graphic design? I know you said earlier you work in marketing, but you know, each post is like very elaborate, the designs of them. So someone has some skills there.
Natasha, these are like the best compliments
Uh,
because when you like run a page, you have no idea what people really think. So to hear you say all this, it's really nice. I pretty much do the social media marketing. I'll create the graphics. Sometimes Mariam will help with it, but for the most part, I'll create the videos and then the graphics for each event.
what did you study in college?
Nothing related to
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Economics and like I think foreign international affairs.
Okay. Because I really thought it would have been graphic design.
No, that's what I'm saying is like sometimes you pick a path for yourself, but really like you're experimenting on the side with all these different things, and sometimes that can be your career and sometimes that's just purely a hobby. And
Mhm.
I think for me, I always knew like I wanted to do more with this. I just didn't know how. So it shows up eventually, you know, when you need it to.
That's really true. Yeah, our skills reveal themselves when it's, you know, something that we're working towards, that we're trying to get off the ground. So let's talk. So we've kind of talked about the workshops. We've talked about the conception of actors across borders. Let's get into some of the big wins, like the accomplishments that Actors Across Borders has accomplished so far.
Honestly, the biggest one, I think all of the co-founders would say this, is the community that we've built. That's just been number one for us. The amount of people that we have met through doing these workshops, the amount of like talent that we've met, just amazing creative people, honestly. They come from all different backgrounds. Some do it full time, some do it for money, some don't. And then getting to collaborate with them or have them collaborate with other people. I think I spoke to you earlier is like we've created a space where people can really come together and it doesn't have to feel formal. It doesn't have to feel like you need to bring your resume or you need to be more than you are. Like you come as you are, you have a good laugh, you get out of your comfort zone at one of our improv workshops, and I think that's been the coolest thing to see. Like honestly, the biggest win, and seeing people the day after one of our events suddenly start writing with somebody they met there, acting with somebody, or just collaborating. I mean, we've seen people on sets literally the next day after meeting somebody at one of our events. So I think that's like honestly a huge win because sometimes you want to enter the creative space, you have no idea how, and you think that you have to like show up in a certain way, but it's like coming to an event like an improv workshop where people get to just have fun with each other and realize like, hey, I actually like you, you seem cool, I like what you do, and maybe let's work together. Let's create something together.
I think that's an incredible win. Like I feel like that it probably has to be like I don't know, maybe an indescribable feeling. Like I can't imagine, like, because like you said, I it's just seeing projects like manifest. I don't know, I guess from a space that you created. So I feel like that has to be a great feeling to see, to helping like foster and build community. That's incredible. Like
Yeah.
that's no small feat at all. Now let's talk about the Falasteen Arts Festival. I know it happened. I'm really upset that I missed it, actually. I know that it happened last month, July 20th and 21st at Rec Room Arts. But talk to me a little bit more about why you decided to put this festival on and, what it was all about.
Yeah. So Mariam, who's the co-founder, and we kind of came together. We did an event called Artists for Justice, and it was an open mic event, and that was our way of kind of like giving back to the community. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world, including what's happening in Palestine right now. And I think we wanted a space for people to come together and speak their mind. And people spoke about gun violence. People spoke about racial injustice. People spoke about the genocide in Palestine. And so that was a really beautiful event that wasn't just like about us or what we're doing. It was really about just kind of the community and giving space to that. And I think as artists, like it's our job to empathize and to speak up when we can. And I know everybody is in a different situation, they can say and do, but I do think that like being an example is really important. And if we are able to do something and speak up and create space for that, we absolutely should. And so Mariam and I are crazy enough, and I will say like it is always good to have a crazy sidekick, partner, whatever you want to call it, because someone who just never says, "Are you sure? How will we do that?" Like we do not have these questions. So coming to her and saying, "Hey, I think that we should do an event for Palestine. I just went to Rec Room Arts for the first time. I saw they have these three rooms, and I think we can do three art forms there." And she said, "Cool. When should we do it?"
Wow.
So we started, that was probably in February, and by March we started assembling our team. And our team consisted of other artists. We had poets, we had graphic designers, and other filmmakers, writers, teachers, everyone from different backgrounds. And we assembled this amazing team of people who just like really care. And the community that came out, Natasha, for this, like this was completely volunteer based. Our whole idea around this was like, okay, three art forms. There's a theater, so we're going to do a theater production. There's a screening room, we're going to host a film there. We're going to screen a film there. And then the rest of the space we will cover with visual art. And that was like such a huge endeavor looking back on it, because we we didn't know 90% of the people that we brought on, but it was like for the cause, for artists, like it was a call to action. We felt also like the Houston community in general was pretty quiet talking about what was happening in Palestine. And so this event in and of itself is like its own call to action, because we're doing it at a theater. We're hosting it at a theater by Houston artists for artists in Palestine and all over the world, really. And so it was a huge endeavor, but we managed to do it. And so, as part of this festival, Actors Across Borders created a documentary film. So, that's what I directed. And then Mariam directed a play called The Revolution's Promise, which is actually a play that was written by Palestinians in Jenin, West Bank, by the Freedom Theater. So she put on that play, and I directed a documentary about 12 Houston Palestinians and about their culture, their identity, and the ongoing occupation. And we managed to do all of this by July, which was amazing. But we had so much help and so many people involved, like forever grateful for the community in Houston, because by the end of it, I think a lot of people said we just had no idea how many amazing artists there are who are ready to just like get up at a moment's notice and get involved and do something about it, and contribute. So it was really beautiful, and it was completely community driven. So we can't take a lot of credit for it other than the idea, because there were just so many people involved, and it could not have been done without each person.
In less than 6 months.
It was like we had like basically 2.5 months. So it pretty much took over our lives.
About how many people like were on the team? Because it sounds like it was a lot of people from all different backgrounds, like
Yeah.
teachers, artists.
Yeah, we had four people as like organizers, and then we had like a graphics team. We had someone for the art installation, we had someone for pre-production, production, post-production for the film, and then as well as a cast for the play and a whole production team that goes with that. And then the team around organizing the festival itself on the day of. So I would say there's about like 40 people total, 40, 45.
I think this goes to show like that's a huge, or it's a the the success of the festival is like a great example of how you can just, utilize your community and utilize people's skills to accomplish something. That's very inspiring. I'm inspired. And I'm so upset I didn't get a chance to go. But also, and then even on top of the community aspect, like the three different art forms, theater, film, and visual art, what better way to get your message across, like your call to action, than art? Because everyone can that's something everyone can identify with. And like it's like in a palpable way, like they don't really know, like they're being educated, they're just being entertained. So congratulations, like for pulling that off.
Thank you so much. And you said something so true, is that like informing people through art is like such a powerful medium, because I think people can watch the news all day. We become numb to a lot of things that happen in this country, whether it's gun violence, racial injustice, like there's so many things that are happening at once. And I think that sometimes art kind of transcends that, like where you can really immerse yourself in it, and it forces you to empathize in a way that you just can't in other ways, because we can either shut it off or
Right.
become desensitized to it. And so one thing that was really important with this festival, and I really hope that like I know we're not the first ones or the last ones to do something around this, but I think the idea of community storytelling really came through it. And that at the end of the day, even though we're talking about Palestine, it's very much connected to what happens here. The film was about 12 Houston Palestinians, you know? We didn't have to go very far to get these stories. These are like right here. These are our neighbors who are being directly affected. I think we're always looking for the next best thing to do in the industry. What's the biggest thing? What's something that we can get the most amount of eyes on? What's gonna get viral? But I do think also like that's really fun and important to do too. And I do think like having a focus on community driven content is just as important, and giving some time to that. And I think that's one thing we all took away from this is community storytelling is so important and impactful, and there's so many stories left to tell. I mean, it's something that we're still talking about, we're still thinking about, and I'm hoping like just, more people kind of carry on that torch. And we know we're not the last ones. I just hope that people realize, okay, there's stories here too, like that are really important to tell.
I think that is like one of probably the greatest tools that all of us, that each of us have like right now. Like it doesn't cost any money. We can just, reach out to people in our community and start telling stories, because that's important. And it's a way that we can get our message across without, oh, are you still there? I
Yeah.
think, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like the
I
window
just stood
just
still.
the window like I don't know, it like dragged you off for a second. Maybe the other file like finished converting or something, but okay, now you're back. But of course, now my thought, but okay, I'll just start.
Community storytelling
Yeah,
and
how we can start right now. And I think that's the so building more awareness around that is, I think that's going to be huge, especially for the Houston art scene. I think that's we need more of that. So I'm hoping this podcast can be, a part of that. And I'm excited to see, more stories that you tell, that Actors Across Borders tells, and other people around the Houston area. I want to know, how long did it take to film the documentary?
yeah, that's a good question. So we started filming in June, but obviously there's preparation in order to start filming. And that started in May. So we got the set, and a very, very, very kind man named Pin Lim, who owns a studio, offered his studio to us for those weekends to film the interviews, but then it's also we have to start designing the set. What does the set look like? What's the feel that we want? And all that is part of the preparation. And so we really just wanted, because while we weren't directly looking for an angle, my goal wasn't to get a certain angle where people just talk about a specific thing or have it be focused on tragedy. I wanted to create like a safe space for people. Like it should feel like they're at home, they're in a very comfortable setting, and they can speak on what they want as they want. That was the goal. Creating that took about like a month, like making sure that all looked well and assembling that team for that, portion of pre-production. And then we started filming over 3 weekends, and we had the most amazing interviewees. I hope you eventually get to see the documentary. Plan to do some screenings in October, but they were just incredible. Honestly, I didn't really have to do too much work, and we just created the space and they spoke. Like it's really amazing what happens when you get people to speak who are ready to tell their story. Like it really is. Someone said, how did you pick these specific people? And I said, honestly, they applied. We sent out a call for interviewees, local Palestinian people to come and be interviewed. And I maybe had like 3 people apply. And then it just kind of grew from there. And people said, well, we want to bring our families. And it was really important to me to have perspectives from men, women of all different ages and backgrounds, some who are from Palestine, some who are first generation. And so we had an amazing mix of people and different religions too, because Palestine consists of different religions. And and so we were able to do that, and we did that with these 12 incredible interviewees. But yeah, and it goes back to community storytelling, as we think that these stories are things that we're going to have to like really work to get, but sometimes people are just ready to speak. They just haven't been given the opportunity, or they don't. These are most of these communities, including the Palestinian community, the Arab community, are communities that are misrepresented and underrepresented. And they're not the only communities. So it just shows you like people are ready to tell their story because no one is properly telling their story or is asking them to tell their story.
Oh my goodness. I had another question on the tip of my tongue. Okay. Is the documentary available to watch anywhere, or do we have to go to a screening to see?
You'll have to go to screenings, only in-person screenings for now. I hope one day we'll be able to publicize the documentary, but because for the safety and security of the people and their families who are currently in the West Bank and Jerusalem, which are heavily surveilled, we have to be very careful and mindful. So for now, we're just showing it in in-person screenings in Houston.
Okay. An excuse to get out and talk to our fellow film community.
Absolutely.
Now, okay. Where do you see Actors Across Borders headed in like the next year?
Oh my gosh. I really see us producing more content, more films, and possibly another theater production. So we've done a feature film, which is a documentary. We've done a short film, Thinking About You, which we'll have on our channel hopefully soon, and The Revolution's Promise. So I think we're going to do more productions, and I think we're going to expand on the types of workshops that we do, include film, screenwriting analysis, voice acting, since that was our most popular one, and honestly continue doing improv workshops. I realize like all these skill-based workshops are really amazing and obviously very informative for people, but I realize at the end of the day, like people really show up for improv. Like that is where you get all the creatives who are introverts, extroverts. They come out and they have a really good time. So I think we will definitely continue doing that.
I will keep my eye out for the improv
Yeah.
and the voice acting. Like I would say those two are the ones that I'm most interested in. So I will keep an eye out for when those workshops come up. So now I want to talk a little bit more just about your journey in the Houston film industry, like navigating it. Because and I think you touched on this earlier, like no one really has like a linear path. And I feel like especially in Houston where there's not I wouldn't really call our art scene like a thriving art scene. I think it's very like we're cultivating that community right now in order, and so maybe like a few years down the road it'll be thriving, but we're building the community right now. But having said that, like have there been like any like roadblocks that you've encountered, like let's just talk about that. Like, has there been any difficulty navigating the film industry? Or I'm sure, have you had any successes navigating the film industry? I know earlier we talked about, you were on set yesterday. So just talk to me about what it's been like navigating the film industry here in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of difficulty, maybe because I'm a year in, I haven't dealt with too much difficulty. I'll say like maybe getting opportunities, but again, it's like it's really like who you know, the connections that you've made sometimes like in this it's very small, tight-knit community, so networking and meeting people really helps you get those opportunities. But honestly, since creating Actors Across Borders, we've kind of created our own opportunities. I think some of the other creators and actors with us felt like they're not getting opportunities or there's not as many for people of color, and so that's why we created Actors Across Borders. That's why we've casted in a certain way. We've done things that are just very like inclusive. So I know other people have struggled with that and other people have like brought that up. So it kind of is like creating your own table and the seats at that table. Like we're not really waiting for anybody to to give us that opportunity. So yeah, kind of creating your own opportunities. You can write your own script, and pass that along. You don't have to be a director, you don't have to be the producer, or if you just want to help out on set. So I'd say like the difficulties of just kind of like getting started or getting in and were probably my biggest challenges. And it's really all about like a mindset for me and just realizing that like I can create my own opportunities in the beginning and put myself out there. So that those were just the only challenges, but the successes have outweighed that. And the success for me is like meeting all these amazing creatives in Houston, and the community here is really really great. Like truly, I mean maybe I've just gotten lucky, but meeting people like Jules and all the folks from In the House. They've been like amazing collaborators, and this is the second time that or really the third time that I've like worked with them. I was on set with them yesterday. It was like a great day on set. And I think having just that like sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I, because the community is like so small here, like there's not really a need for competition. Like we're so early in this game, in this industry, that like we can truly collaborate with each other and not have it be like super competitive. So everyone is open to you working on their set or collaborating, or you want to read my script. And I really like that culture that's here. I've found that to be very just kind of inviting and open. So those have been my successes, and obviously creating Actors Across Borders allowed me to do like out of the three films that I've made. So building that community, meeting all those actors and meeting different writers and directors and learning from one another. I think that's really important, and that has kind of allowed me to be more confident in what I'm doing and take more risks, because I'd never made a documentary before. This is like my first year filmmaking, and to do like three films is pretty wild. And I think
Yes.
that just yeah, and I think that just goes to show you that, you can't do it alone. You really can't. Filmmaking is just not you can I mean, you can pick up your phone, make something, edit it. You can definitely do that. But the kind of film that you really want to make, it requires a community, and it requires a even just like a few people around you who you trust, you rely on, and who are just like excited to make what you want to make. Like that's really what it comes down to. So, with each project you meet completely different people with completely different set of skills, and so it's just really cool to see how many creatives and talented people are here in Houston. And I tell everybody who I meet, like whether it's in Austin or anywhere else, that, you guys are not really looking at Houston, and we have so much talent in Houston. And somebody in Austin, actually, a director told me that she finds like there's better talent, like for DPs and for directors in Houston. She's like, all the reliable people are in Houston. And I thought, okay,
Yeah.
we need like a PR person to
Yeah.
like marketing us as such. But yeah, I think it's just like not overlooking the talent here. I'm very much rooted in Houston. I don't plan to leave. So for me, the goals are very much around like building a film community here.
You touched on something that resonated with me, and I think I need to do more of it. Like you said, not waiting on people to, give you these opportunities, just, to start doing them yourself. Because yeah, I identify or I agree with some of like the comments that um that other people have mentioned to you about maybe not being able to find very many projects. Or I personally, I feel like there's really not a lot of projects here for me to even build a portfolio, like to maybe even send to like a talent agency. And so and I kind of feel like I'm starting to build my own seat at the table, like with this podcast. Like I'm, creating like a new platform for people to talk about these things, their thoughts and experiences. And so I want to like take advantage of like the different writers groups in the area, like to start writing my own scenes, to just, put myself out there. So that is it's very inspiring. And then kind of also what you had mentioned just about how you haven't experienced like too many roadblocks, because I feel like the space that we're in right now with the film industry here in Houston, I feel like everyone is the the mood is like the overall mood to me just seems like we're eager to help each other and eager to work in general. So no one is, I don't know, being overly negative, or they're very welcoming. Like it's a very accepting community because we just all have this goal in mind. Like we just want to build and improve. So I think the film community is very tight knit, and I think it's a good community to be in. So I didn't have like another question, but that was just kind of like some thoughts that were in my head when you were talking. I do have like just some closing questions for you. How can people get involved with Actors Across Borders?
That's a really good question. Well, aside from attending workshops, and we've taken a little bit of a break post festival as we're like transitioning into kind of this next phase of Actors Across Borders, but we plan to continue doing improv workshops and other acting workshops. But we want to bring on some really passionate creatives, Houston creatives on our team. So that's one way to get involved. So keep a lookout on our Instagram page. We'll be posting about that soon. And our Instagram is Actors Across Borders. Aside from that, like, yeah, join our Facebook page. We put up casting calls. I think we really tried to prioritize different types of casting calls and make sure that they're inclusive. And so we do that on our Facebook page. We also do that on our Instagram. So keep a lookout for that. But yeah, you can get involved with Actors Across Borders through those various channels.
Instagram and YouTube. Were those the two?
Instagram and Facebook. In
Instagram and
the Facebook group.
Facebook and the Facebook group. Okay. And well, I feel like we may have, do you have any upcoming projects? I know you did just say you guys are taking a well-deserved hiatus after putting on a successful first festival. But yeah, have there been any discussion of any upcoming projects, like maybe like ideas for workshops or films or anything?
Yeah, we plan to do more film related workshops. The festival ended, but I'm still very much involved in the film and making sure it screens. And we're actually in phase 2 of editing the film. So adding more B-roll, contextualizing certain aspects of the documentary that will just help provide more context to certain things about what's happening in Palestine. And I have a wonderful editor, Soren, who is helping me with that. So that's what I'm currently working on. So I'm very much in editing mode right now. And making sure that that screens in October. So I would keep a lookout for that. That will also be on our Instagram page. And yeah, we plan to do more films, and we love like casting through AAB. Honestly, we've met some amazing actors. So be on the lookout for that as well. And that will probably start early next year. And the last thing I will mention is there's just so many things that we're thinking about doing is we want to continue community storytelling. So our first documentary is in our own words, and we plan to kind of continue that and have that be kind of a community centered series.
Hmm.
Keep a
In our
lookout
own
for
words.
that next year. Yeah.
I like the title of it. It's very, yeah, it makes me want to learn more.
Yeah, I think having people tell their own story, I'm not in the documentary at all. Like it's really about them and their words, their story. So kind of continuing that through different communities.
Do you have any plans to maybe submit your documentary to film festivals? You want to do like the film festival circuit? Is that one of your?
That would be really cool. I don't know if I can do with the Palestinian documentary that we just did. I hope one day that we would be able to show it, but for now, hopefully like the next few ones that I do, I think I've found my niche, or I guess my calling through documentary. I think that's we've experimented enough this past year, and we've been able to try so many different things. And I think doing the documentary definitely felt the most natural for me. So I want to continue doing storytelling through as a documentarian.
Very nice. You never know where you may end up. I'm glad I got in early, like talking to you. Thank you again so much, Camille, for coming on. I feel like this was an amazing podcast episode where we talked about a lot. Was there anything maybe that I didn't ask you that you may want to share?
That's a good question. I feel like you asked everything, honestly, or I said like too much. I don't know. Um, but I guess I would leave with if anybody does want to get involved and feels like it's very intimidating, I don't know what I would do. I don't know my place. I have social anxiety, whatever it is. I think that there's a group of people here for you. Everybody is pretty inviting, whether it's me and Mariam. Even if you reach out to us, we are always here to like answer people's questions or even connect them. I think that there's groups like In the House. They film every weekend. If you want to be on a set, reach out to them. They always need help. Be a production assistant. Like there's always ways to get involved and slowly like be a part of the community. There's somebody here to connect you and to help you, or just like to provide insight. Like you're not alone. It's not that intimidating. Like I because I can see how it's like that. I meet a lot of people, but that's why we do improv workshops. And so there's a lot of great people doing things every single month. So no excuse.
That's right. No excuse. Well, thank you so much, Camille, for talking to me today. And I'll see you guys in the next one when I bring on another film professional here in the Houston industry.